Okay, this meeting is being recorded. This is the Economic Development Commission meeting of Thursday, March 7th. We're meeting in the Town Hall conference room as well as via Zoom. It's 8:32. We do have a quorum, and I'll turn things over to our Vice Chair, Steve Rosado, joining us online. Steve, take it away.
Good morning. I guess call meeting to order, and first order of business, I guess, vote on accepting minutes from last week, or last month, I should say.
The February 1st minutes distributed. I'll make a motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Just a few things in your packet, and I'll make sure that I send out to those joining us online is a copy of the letter of support that we provided on behalf of Police Genesis for their ZBA hearing later today. It just touches on the high points. We will, assuming, I don't know if I should assume, maybe that's a jinx, but in the event that they are approved by ZBA, they do need to go before planning and zoning, and I'll provide a similar letter. I did, with the help of the tax assessor, look at the change in assessed value for the project. Recall that this is an aggregation of several lots on which there exist buildings. Genesis or Belize purchased the property several years back with the intention of expanding their dealership facility here in Fairfield. But as you tear down, I mean, obviously the buildings themselves have a value. We're not changing the land. As you tear those down and then rebuild a new dealership, showroom, and maintenance facility, there is a bump in terms of the increased valuation, but it's not it's not a huge amount because it's a one-story building. And I calculated it's about 11,300 square feet, and just did a very conservative calculation. I think our net increase in assessed value is about $300,000. So it's not going to move the needle a lot in terms of increased taxes, at least until we go through a reval, and then as things come online, you take into account current valuation of property, we go from there. All right, somebody's joining online. If you could mute yourself, because we're picking up a lot of background noise. Thank you. So that's Belize Genesis. I did distribute for those here our latest version of our rack card for upcoming events in the spring. We've been doing this since last fall. So every quarter we issue a rack card to our partners, highlighting some of the major events that the town's involved in for that season. Our next event, we just had a meeting with the downtown business owners, merchants, is the spring shop and stroll in the spring and on May 2nd. And then obviously Mary Alice's, it's not on your card, but it's very much involved in Make Music Day Fairfield, which is on June 21st, which is Friday this year. Hoping to get more than 100 performances. We were just short of that last year, townwide. So we look forward to that. Couple things that we did report on, or I reported on previously. The project, the 245 unit mixed use transit-oriented development project at 81 Black Rock Turnpike was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 13th of February. So we are still in discussions with them about doing more in the way of affordable units beyond what we require under our current zoning regulations. That would require Board of Selectmen approval, partial tax abatement in exchange for those additional units. I'm still talking through those issues, and we haven't yet decided whether or not to accept the brownfield grant funds. I would suspect that we will be, if we do, it'll be a reduced dollar amount, less than $1 million, so that we avoid the prevailing wage that would apply to the entire vertical development, which is a major cost item for the development team. So I did talk to DEC yesterday about that, and so we're still discussing it. A couple other things I wanted to bring to your attention. The town now has a Fairfield Arts Commission, providing staff support to that. The commission is considering designating a downtown arts and cultural district to apply to the state for recognition. We have proposed district boundaries, which I'll again share with the full board. But the other thing of note is the commission is looking to hold a open house community conversation in the arts at the end of April 27th, hopefully at Fairfield Theater Company. Those of you who are interested in the arts and cultural aspects, they're looking to get input from the community, not just creatives and artists that reside among us, but the public at large, as to ways in which the commission and the town can support and foster a more vibrant arts community. So stay tuned for that.
We're just curious on the Arts Commission. Do they have any particular needs at this point that we could support, or like it's just moving forward and it's still so new?
Yeah, I think one of the things is they've talked about public art, incorporating public art in the public spaces, like murals and sculptures and things of that nature. But one of the things is we don't have funding for that. We have couple $1,000 to cover administrative costs. That are not really enough to see, some type of art installation, right? So I think before they request funds from the board, they would want to make sure that they understand better the needs of their arts community. So that's the purpose of having this event, and then that will help on their work. So yeah, it's a little premature.
Well, I do wonder, like, I mean, doing art installations, like if that's something businesses would fund for just attraction.
I think so. I think part of the component would be, whether we can incorporate that into our zoning regulations such that businesses that do that would get some credit, maybe some offset for some other requirement like parking or something else that they would have to fulfill to incentivize people to do that. And I think too, if the town had some seed dollars, I think the idea would be to go out to the community at large, businesses and others, to see if we could leverage that and get some donations. So I do think there is there's a possibility to add to that just private dollars as well as public.
I look at what like the Circle Hotel does there, which I think is great. It's a great visual, but they're probably paying for that. I just wonder.
They're 100%.
I wonder if there's an opportunity for businesses to, like, if they're aware of this, like, hey, if you want to fund it and have some input on what the artist puts up there, that we can get more of it done and it benefits the businesses where they would have to go out and hire it. Just it comes to them. I don't know if there's a way. I mean, obviously this is their purview, not ours, but I don't know if there's any way we could bridge the gap. Is it something the chamber maybe can get involved in?
No, I think that you're right. As part of the commission's role would be to make those connections, to bridge the relationship between the artist community and businesses or others that are interested in sponsoring art. So I do think that is a natural role.
I guess I should show up there and voice these opinions at that. The
more
appropriate venue.
I will keep you guys posted. Colin and I were talking briefly. The Economic Development Department was a topic of conversation at the Board of Selectmen meeting with the budget. And we did secure some additional dollars. When I had my time to present to the board, certainly I think all consensus amongst all the board was that, we could use some additional resources here. And as I was explaining to the board, part of it is we're in this area where I picked up some additional responsibilities. I'm not sure exactly how much time and attention, all those things will demand, and what that will translate into in terms of time and resources and the like. So I think what they've done now is commit some additional dollars so we can bring in some contract support staff to hopefully cover periods where we're extremely busy, and hopefully offset that until we discern what our full-time staffing needs are. We did start the process of soliciting applications both under the Community Development Block Grant, under the Neighborhood Assistance Act program. The NAA is a state program that provides a tax credit to businesses that provide charitable gifts to approved nonprofit and municipal agencies. So our role is essentially to solicit those applications from the nonprofit community and then put them before the board and the RTM for their review and approval, and then submit it to the state by July 1st. Let the business community know, hey, there's a potential opportunity here to help fund these great community projects and activities, and in exchange, the state will provide some level of tax credit against your corporate tax liability. So
I'm just curious, like in going through that process, do you ever have to like present any sort of ROI? Like, hey, every dollar spent turns to, whatever. I just heard a stat the other day, like every dollar spent in the IRS nets like $12 and
I haven't had to do that. I'm not looking to pick up additional work there, but I do think that from my perspective, it's worthwhile for the town to participate. Pretty much every community now in the state participates in the program. It's not a huge time suck for us, but the way I look at it is if a lot of these programs we're very familiar with, Operation O, Fairfield Theater Company, they routinely apply. And getting those monies from private sources, so that they don't have to raise those dollars themselves or from public sources, and it's a real win-win in the sense that the businesses then claim that as a gift, donation, if you will, on their tax return. So it's money that comes into the community that we wouldn't otherwise have. So from my standpoint, that's a great ROI. We wouldn't have that money. It might go someplace else. I think that's it. The only other project that we just had a code review meeting, earlier this week. Fairfield University, Jen's not with us, but Fairfield University is planning to remodel a portion of the former Dolan School for additional student housing. So as they continue to grow their enrollment, they're actively looking to repurpose buildings and build new facilities to meet their growing student enrollment, which I think is good news for all of us. So that is my entire report today. Lots of good news. Any questions from folks?
I had a lot of questions and I've asked them all.
Drove by Illicit Brewery the other day. The parking lot was full.
Yeah, it's they've been doing well. I checked in with them, and my personal observation is the same. I was there on a Sunday afternoon and they were packed. But yeah, they've been really busy.
It's great.
So I think it's
huge space.
Been well received by the community. It's a little pricey if you're doing a private event there, I guess, but
it is a lot of. I was surprised how many families I see in there, like lots of little kids.
I hate to admit how many craft breweries I do visit, and that's been my experience as well. It's nice to have it in Fairfield because
with two little kids, it is a thing. It's the thing to.
Is it?
And Two Roads historically they've started to lessen their rules and regulations, but they historically have not allowed people under 18 into the brewery.
They're missing the boat.
They don't really need they don't need like the influx of people.
I suppose that's true.
They're so usually so busy, but it's certainly a thing to obviously not so late. It's not like you're there till like 10 o'clock with these kids. During the day.
If only this existed while I had young children. Maybe.
I guess
Not okay, so.
moving on the agenda, we have our project list. Kenny was gonna share with us for updates on what he's working on, leading us.
Then you're on mute. Might be in transit. I don't know. I know that there's two things. Ken was looking at town-owned property assets to see if there's any potential opportunities there. We've certainly talked about the Mill Plain parking lot, and then working with the Affordable Housing Committee, Affordable Housing Committee has looked at parking regulations, especially for large commercial plazas. Potential partnership with them, because I think we're going to propose some changes to our regs to hopefully reduce the parking demands. Once you get to a certain size, you don't need to keep creating parking. But Penny's off mute now, so
yeah. Hi. Morning.
Howdy. Good to see you.
So my two tasks were to see what comparable towns have done in changing their parking regulations over the past few years. So the only, unfortunately, I've been time constrained the past few months because business has picked up. So typically my Fridays or weekends where I would do this, I'm now working even harder. So I'm trying to, balance and fit everything in. I did download the entire Westport zoning code, and I'm going through that to compare our parking regs to their parking regs and see what new amendments or refinements have been made over the past few years. Also, I'm trying to find others in other comp towns and see what they've done for their parking. That was task number one. And I've been remiss on accelerating that task. Task number two.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I would be happy to help. I would need direction. So I don't know if you're just reaching out to the towns to do that, or
Yes. So Westport's actually their entire zoning rules and regs are actually online. And I have questions about it. I made a lot of highlights. I folded a lot of corners down and to ask them a lot of questions. But what I did was I wanted to visit the planning department on a Friday when I typically work at home and ask them a lot of questions. So I haven't done that. What we can do is, and I appreciate your help in this, is pick a comp town that we want to see what they have done currently. Look at their parking rules and regs. Compare it to ours, compare it to Westport's, or compare it to another town that we choose, and see what they've done to unlock,
if I were to suggest another community that's very comparable to Fairfield, and I don't know how progressive their parking regulations are, but that's hard.
That's what came to mind to me, because I always see it is almost funny, the restaurants that open in Fairfield that come from Hartford and vice versa, whether it's Mecca or a few other ones like that.
And I think too, we should recognize that maybe Connecticut is not the most, progressive as it relates to parking regulations either. I mean, outside of the cities, but I don't know if New Haven or Hartford would be a good fit for us. We may have to turn to some places in other states, maybe in Massachusetts, maybe around some of the Boston metro suburbs, kind of very similar to us. We may have to look there. It's always better to have Connecticut comps, but we want to get some direction as to what others doing to reduce that. And I don't know that it's a huge piece of the puzzle. I think we can make a pretty common sense argument that this is just wasted space, better utilized everywhere else. I mean, for any other purpose, even if it was just landscaped areas, it would be better than asphalt that's our cars. So I think it's helpful to have some comps. I'd say West Hartford would be the one. And if you want, I'm sure, as Kenny said, you can find a lot of these regs online, but sometimes you need an advanced degree to interpret them. Yeah. And if we need to connect you with our planning staff, I'm happy to analyze. I'm sure we're happy.
Yeah. And also to visit, sometimes you can, if you speak to a planning person there, you can find out, what problems they're trying to attack also, and maybe those align with ours, and what solutions they're trying to figure out too. Another comp town I thought would be Scarsdale. So I think that's comparable. Maybe their political situation is comparable. Certainly Fairfield and Scarsdale align in many ways, and also Livingston. So now we get, Connecticut, New York State, and New Jersey. Um, you know, I'm curious about what they're doing. They have similar downtowns. I'm sure they're a similar size or comparable in size. They're probably going through the same problems that we are.
Suggestions.
Okay, now I will try and get through at least one or two of these to see what I can find online,
Thanks, Steve.
just to support your efforts.
Appreciate the assistance. The other task I have chosen to do also is to figure out with everyone what kind of value we can possibly unlock in town-owned properties. It's a big, mission statement. I don't know if there can be. I'm sure there's a lot of speed limits, speed bumps and hurdles to that. But I think it's worth a look because, they could be some valuable pieces of land, and there could be alternatives to what sits there currently. The first task was to gather all the town-owned sites, which I have, and what I have done is map them. And I created an interactive map of all the properties in the town, plotted on an interactive map. If anyone wants it, I'll gladly share with you. Just send me your email and I'll gladly do it. What I thought would be the first task is to catalog everything. Make notes, some ideas on what it could be or maybe can't be, a highest and best use analysis, if there even is such a thing with that property, and then open it up for discussion and see what we can unlock.
There might be an opportunity here, I think the issue is sometimes I had a planning and zoning commission member reach out with regard to a couple town-owned parcels and said, what about this? I think part of it is not a regulatory issue. It's a question of developing a consensus around what the potential is for that site. And I think it's not an economic development or a planning and zoning thing. I think we really need to have almost a multi-discipline study committee that would be comprised of representatives from economic development, planning and zoning, maybe the RTM, district reps, for example, that is looking at the community at large, neighborhood associations. So you're looking at a piece of property and you're trying to determine not just in terms of what the market would support, but what the community can support as well. And that's almost what I'm thinking of, particularly some of these high leverage visibility sites like the Mill Plain parking lot. I mean, I don't know that we could come up with something and it would actually get approved without going through a more inclusive community planning process of some sort. So
that's probably just a tough
part of it, just elevating some of these things and figure out what sites we want to look at, and then what's the process maybe to move forward with that. Other communities have done this. I was just talking to the proprietors of the Delamar who made a pitch to I guess lease a piece of property that another community owned. It was in Massachusetts, and they had gone through a very similar deliberative process where they had a committee comprised of various disciplines. And they were, doing it. They did an RFP after they first decided what they wanted to use this town asset for, and then reviewed it and were making a recommendation to the other boards to select a provider. In this case, they wanted a hotel. So, something like that, I think, is how we might move. And there's also Mill Plain, infrastructure challenges with the road and the bridge there. So you know, I think what we're doing just to raise the profile would be very helpful.
And Ken, if you could share that map, maybe include all of us on.
Yeah, please. I'd like to see it too.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, Mark, I'll send it to you and you distribute it all around.
Right.
And Mark, and obviously we want development and more taxes and stuff, but maybe like that Mill Plain piece of property is going to be constrained. You have that really nice neighborhood tucked in back there on just on the other side of the highway and that choke point there. But is there maybe other uses for it? And I really don't know. I'm just saying, like, is there something that's missing opposed to just an open park, you know?
Right. I think the only way I mean, not the only way, but I think one way in which you decide that is to get involved in a more collaborative conversation about what is the potential for that site, what would the community like to see, and you know, hopefully marry that with market realities to make sure you're not proposing something that's completely you know, not supported by the marketplace. So
I mean, it would be a heck of a lot nicer if there was a park there, maybe even like.
right. I mean, it could simply be something like that. It doesn't have to be development. It could be any number of things, but it clearly is not. You know, an idle parking lot's not doing us a whole lot.
I mean, I think between us and planning and zoning, they obviously have a lot of interest in this because they want to proactively manage some of the open space that we have so that they're not taking on more 30G applications, as they've made very clear. So I think that if we can partner with them a little bit about, right, we've done this sort of work around, here's what we think the highest and best use of this is from an economic perspective. What is your perspective from, you know, the way that you guys are thinking about planning and zoning overall? I think that's a way to at least start to elevate it, and then we can include other divisions boards.
And what if they made that into, I don't know, like a skate park or something like that? You're across from, it's a good gateway to the town. You get activity, and just a thought, like maybe there's a better, higher use for it if development is too difficult to unlock.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a worthwhile thing for us to pursue. Somebody should be looking at these town properties and determining what our plan is. What's long term goal.
That area would be included in the art zone, or is that too far?
No, it would be in the arts district. I mean, that, you know, that some of the feedback we've got from the artist community is, hey, we need space for artists to collaborate and do art, you know. I have people routinely in the arts community looking for space, but they can't really do top market rents, you know. They can't pay $40 a square foot for space. So, you know, that, I'm not saying that that's the idea, but, you know, it could be potential use for the area, somehow supporting the arts.
Make it an art park. Where maybe there's a small facility that, well, that, you know, that's an investment purely. So
either way, I think it's helpful to have a conversation about this, because I don't know that anyone that really is doing it. So I
guess I'm just trying to come up with public amenities that might fit there that they're not going to negatively impact the neighborhood, where you're going to get that, like, not my backyard attitude. But anyway, probably it's a little bit of a rabbit hole. Sorry.
It is. No question. So thank you, Kenny. Once you send me that, I will distribute to the rest of the commission. I don't have anything further on development sites unless you have specific questions. I'll have I do provide an updated list of development projects to our utility companies and periodically update that throughout the year. So I'll share with you next month. It sounds like a quarterly or semi-annual report, that because it doesn't change that much from month to month. So I can provide that at our next meeting. We have it. And Bev was not able to join us today, so.
I see that they're working on the Townfield Pavilion. Is there a scheduled laid out for that when it's going to be?
Yeah, I think they're trying to get it in place before next season,
For this coming season, right?
not this
not
coming
this one,
season,
the following season.
They don't want to lose 2 seasons.
I think right now it's remediation.
Yeah,
Right.
it's remediation,
Yeah.
yeah. But the plan is to hopefully not lose 2 seasons, have it all done before next.
2025 spring.
Any other questions?
If there's no other business, then I believe
Yeah, I think we're good. I talk fast, so we're all good.
a motion to adjourn.
Thank you all.
All right.
We're adjourned.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much,
all.
everyone. Have a great rest of the week. Happy March.